Hello, I'm RichJMoney, and this is going to be my budget Chaos Bladefall guide. And I'm level 74. I'm just gonna start with some gameplay action, and then go into some of the explanations and the gear and links and all that. But I think it's important just to see what you're getting yourself into if you decide to play a build like this. So we're just going to Dried Lake. I'm level 74, well within good XP range for this zone. And it starts up pretty quick, and then it ramps up. Pretty much one-shot white packs, two-shot blues, rares dip down pretty quickly. And once we get going, we're really quick. So we're doing Chaos Bladefall, which means we're using Bladefall and the Poison Gem. We're also doing a lot of upfront Chaos damage as well, which also scales into the Poison. We're also on the Blood Magic Keystone, so we can sustain our mana cost very easily and get a lot of extra life, which is very important once you see what we're working with gear-wise here. We actually have such a high cast speed that our lightning orb bugs out fairly frequently. That's about an average Dried Lake. I'm not really optimal on my Vol Haste and that kind of thing, but it's extremely fast. I average around 150, 160 million per hour, and this is on a 2 exalt budget. So what are the key elements of this build? The pure inspiration for creating this character, which I created 2-3 days ago, was I saw Ming's Heart in trade chat. And Ming's Heart used to be worth a few exalts, and this is being sold for 5-6 chaos. And it kind of occurred to me that I didn't know why. It was so fairly rare. We have a lot of chaos damage that's important. There's a lot of fizz to chaos is a good conversion right now, because the poison gem cares about the amount of physical and chaos you do on your initial hit, and the 15% reduced maximum life. It's really not that big of a deal when you can get 250% on the tree with blood magic. So that was the start. That was the start of the idea. I decided, okay, let's go double Ming's Heart. Let's go blood magic, and we can get 230, 250% life on the tree and be perfectly fine. You'll see right now I'm at level 74 and I have 4.5k health, but I still have 40, 50% life to grab on the tree, so I should actually be able to hit well into 5,000 life. Especially with some gear optimizations. The next step was we being me and my friends thought about Apep's Rage. That gives you a large amount of cast speed, flat chaos damage, which is going to scale with any chaos damage that's on the tree, and then it's also going to scale into the poison, because again, the poison gem cares about how much initial physical and chaos damage you do on the hit, and then it stacks a poison based on 10% of that amount. We're also blood magic, so the increased mana cost of skills really doesn't matter. So we're running 2 of those and 2 Ming's Hearts, which also pretty much caps our chaos resistance. We're at 123, and 135 is capped for Merciless. But we could get better rolls on our Ming's Hearts and get that fixed right up. Otherwise, we don't have any real gear requirements, so we need to get all of our other resistances either in jewels on the tree or in our gear. I've chosen to do it mostly through gear, just life and resistances on my gloves, helm, boots. I have some int on my helmet, which I need, and then I'm wearing a rustic sash for the increased physical damage. And the nice thing about buying a rustic sash for this build is most builds that want a rustic sash will want weapon elemental damage or room for it on their gear, which means that if you find one that doesn't have room for it, you can get a little bit cheaper. And that pretty much caps our resistances between those 3 pieces of gear and an amulet with pretty good resistances. The Apex Rages cost me 10 chaos apiece, so that was 20. The Ming's Hearts cost me 3 chaos apiece, I think. So that brings us to 26, and then I probably spent another 25 or so on my gear, which brings us to an exalt or so on the Hardcore Talisman League. And then I bought a 5-link Cloak of Defiance for 1 exalt, and this is actually about the market price for it. This one happens to be a fairly good roll. And the way Duresso's Defiance interacts with Immortal Call is very beneficial. Basically, if Immortal Call is off of cooldown, it will take all the endurance charges and proc an Immortal Call. But if Immortal Call is on cooldown, the Duresso's Defiance will proc and give us the Onslaught buff. So we're playing a lot with charges there. As far as links go, our primary links are Bladefall, which is just level 17 right now. I didn't go out and buy a level 20 gem, so I'm playing with what you would have if you just leveled it up yourself. Poison, Spell Echo, Life Leech, and Controlled Destruction. And the last link, if I get a 6th link, will be Void Manipulation. So essentially, we're just we're scaling as much spell damage as we can. You could also use concentrated effect here as well. I tend to like the big AoE. In a 6th link, I could see myself using AoE and then switching in Conk Effect for bosses and that kind of thing. But we do have a lot of AoE on the tree as well. For our supporting links, we have a cast when damage taken at level 1, which casts a Ball Lightning at level 1. That Ball Lightning has Curse on Hit Warlord's Mark. Warlord's Mark will give us Leech, Endurance charges, and probably underrated, it will give us chance to stun enemies. So if we're doing big upfront physical hits, physical and chaos hits, we can get those enemies stunned, and that's a pretty big defensive bonus on top of the Leech that we're doing. And by using Curse on Hit with cast and damage taken, we can level this Warlord's Mark up as high as we want. For mobility, we have a standard kind of Lightning Warp setup. Lightning Warp, faster casting, less duration. And then I have a cast when damage taken, increased duration, Immortal Call, Molten Shell. These are all requirement level 50 or under. It's just a fairly decent sized Immortal Call, and we will be constantly consuming charges, so we get a good, nice chunk of duration out of that. And Molten Shell is just another physical barrier for us, because physical damage tends to be one of the more dangerous damage types out there. We also have a cast when damage taken, Blood Rage, and Summon Chaos Golem. You could use a Flame Golem, but that would be hard to color the wand. It is a 212 int required wand. But this is just to keep up Blood Rage and keep a Golem up if we can. And finally, we have kind of utility things. We have a vulnerability, a Vol Haste, Blood Rage to manually cast, and increased duration, which actually applies to all 3 of these items. Finally, we're using an Aziri's Promise Flask. We are almost Chaos Resistance capped, so this is almost purely an offensive Flask. It gives us another 25% physical damage as extra chaos, which then also scales into the poison. And it does give us 2% of chaos damage leech, but we're leeching a whole lot already. On the tree, our primary problem, since we're blood magic and we're grabbing some frenzy charges, is that we can't get intellect. And you might be able to solve this on gear. You'll see I have 35 int there, 16 here. But honestly, one of the easiest solutions is a brute force solution. Brute force solution has this node, and even this guy, where you can get 60 plus intellect pretty easily in the radius, and that gets us up to 249 right now, which is a little bit of overkill for our 212. But I do want some extra space, so I could switch out gear. I could find a good tri-res helmet if I wanted to. I could get something. I could get some other stat on my amulet, and I have room to play with a few things. So it's an extremely budget build. People tend to be a little afraid of the 15% reduced maximum life on Ming's Heart, but in reality, that's 3 skill points. Especially on a build like this where we're gonna constantly have life that we can grab, even very, very late into the build, so we can always grab more life. So 3 skill points seems really reasonable for a 20% physical conversion into chaos, which then converts into additional poison damage. And then you can also counteract that life offset by jewels, which also can help your resistances and help your stats. So most of my jewels you'll see will have life on them, just to kind of counteract those Ming's Hearts, and we get a little damage to those as well. And finally, Clear Mind. Clear Mind gives us a huge chunk of spell damage, which scales the initial hit, which scales the poison, and then scales the poison itself because it's been applied by a spell. So it's an obvious choice. We're blood magic. We don't care about any auras. The only auras that we'd really like are defensive, but in a party, if someone's running hatred, anger, or haste, those things will benefit us. We will get some elemental damage added to our spells, and while we're not necessarily scaling it directly, because our cast speed is so high, it'll be very beneficial. Right now I'm actually still grabbing area on the tree, and I've grabbed the Templar area nodes, which will help me just get bigger Bladefall, and we're almost done qualitying up this Bladefall as well. And then, as I said, we're grabbing Endurance Charge here, or Frenzy Charge here, excuse me, and we'll be grabbing this Frenzy Charge as well, which gives us a more multiplier on damage, which again double dips. It scales the initial hit, and then it scales the poison damage as well. And we're also grabbing all of the endurance charges on the tree. So we're going to be constantly going up to 7 charges, and then either losing those charges to Immortal Call or a long onslaught buff. So we kind of constantly have physical mitigation going, which helps counteract Reflect. I don't really notice Reflect at all. I think a Reflect map might be a bit of an issue because you're hitting everything, you're hitting it very fast, but because we're scaling so much through chaos damage and the resulting poison, we don't have a high crit multiplier, we're not doing huge burst physical damage up front. It hasn't been a problem up until this point. Although, like I said, I would not run a physical reflect map, and I would be very careful in a vulnerability map. So, just gonna run through a dried lake and a few maps, just to kind of give some more gameplay of this build. This build is extremely fun to play. It's extremely fast paced. It scales well into a party because a lot of auras help you out. I've carried a 3-man party through Dried Lake, getting 160 million per hour still. With all of our charges up right now, we have a 18,000 tooltip Bladefall, and that's only going to get higher. Let's see what it is with our with Fall Haste and a flask up here. Just a minute, we're gonna kill Vol here. Get a new Vol Haste up, and we'll look at where our tooltip is, and then we're still grabbing a little bit of damage on the tree and another frenzy charge on the tree, so that'll just help us out. So we pop it, we're at almost 20,000 Bladefall, and Bladefall hits multiple times, and all of that turns into poison damage that puts a dot on the target based on the initial fizz and initial chaos. And overall, it's just a very, very fast clear speed build on an extreme budget. We're talking most builds that clear even dried lake this fast are working on, you know, multiple exalts for their budget. I spent about 2, maybe 2.5 in total gearing this character up, and I did all of that on stream. I literally had the idea, logged off, created a character, bought the gear, leveled the character, and I've been doing dried lake since about level 62. I leveled with a tabula once I switched to Bladefall, and at 62 I equipped my 2 Apex Rages, and we were doing very, very good damage. At 63 I was able to equip the Adresso's Defiance, which lost us a link and a little bit of damage, but we gained a huge defensive setup. You'll notice I'm almost always at either 7 endurance charges, or I have Immortal Call up, or I have an Onslaught buff, which gives us more casting speed, which it's a little bit of overkill as far as casting speed goes. Our Lightning Orb constantly bugs out, but it's a lot of fun. It's really cheap. People are a little afraid of the Ming's Heart, but I'll tell you, my clear speed when I equip those went up dramatically, and because I have so many layered defenses, I really didn't notice too much of a difficulty kind of keeping my life up. Again, we're at about 4,500 health, and we definitely can get higher life on our gear, and we're going to be grabbing a lot more life on the tree as we move into our 80s. And I'll likely do another video on this build for endgame. You know, this is fairly, you know, it's low level maps, it's dried lake, but I really do think that this build has a lot of potential. We kill things so fast, and we have so many layered defenses that I don't see a way that this build can't do, you know, tier 10 maps. It might not have the best clear speed when you start looking at tier 13 plus, but you know, we might push up there and take a look. I'm not really clearing this map effectively. I'm just kind of running through it, but things die when they look at me, which is just kind of a really good feeling. And the fact that this is done without Volspark prices and is tankier than Volspark is a huge upside to me. You know, while I do a lot of trading, I don't really like to spend 10-15 exalts plus on a build unless you know, I'm crafting a piece of that build. But being able to just, you know, go on to Peewee.trade, pick up a few pieces of gear, and instantly kind of get this this kind of level of damage and clear speed, it's a really good feeling. And while I'm not the first person by far to do a poison Bladefall, I think that just the list of things that I've combined makes this version of the build particularly powerful. I do know a lot of people do poison Bladefall. I know a few people who've done Bladefall totems and scaled up the physical with like hatred. I have a friend who's doing a similar build with dual Ming's Hearts, Apex ones, and he's acrobatics with dual totems, and that gets a very, very fast clear speed, and that gains defenses in the fact that it's a totem build rather than my endurance charges and the interaction with the rest of those Defiance. So it's been a blast kind of coming up with optimizing this build a little bit, and we'll be doing a lot more with it in the future. It's a build that I think that even if Bladefall gets a bit nerfed, it'll still be a very good build, because while the upfront damage of the Bladefall might take a hit, we're also adding a lot of flat chaos damage, and we're scaling a lot of percent chaos damage on top of it, which means that the Bladefall itself is less of a percentage of our overall damage than, say, it would be in a different build. So Bladefall's pretty popular right now, but I hadn't seen anyone kind of going really all in on the poison aspect. So I kind of had to make this build once I started talking about it on stream. If this kind of thing interests you, I'll be streaming it for the next few weeks, at least, or until I die. You can see my Twitch at twitch.tv/RichJMoney, and I stream about 68 hours a day during the week after I get home from my job, and I stream very long hours on the weekend, especially at the beginning of leagues. And Path of Exile is my primary game. I always come back. I have a few other builds on the agenda for this league. There's just so much you can do right now that it's pretty exciting. But this build, as I started thinking about it, made me just drop everything and kind of see if it would work. And it's been very rewarding, kind of seeing it come from the ground up, and then just being completely solid. I do need to get a little bit more HP. I do want to get the last area nodes and life nodes, but being 74 and all the next nodes you get mattering like that is an excellent position to be in, because all of the pathing is done very early. You can level this build pretty much any way you want. You can go up and do dual totems. You can do flame totem. You can cast Bladefall as soon as you get it, like I did. But you just have a lot of options, because you're essentially just going up across the Templar near dual totems, and then over to Shadow, and you can get any damage type you like, and you can go totems, you can go blood magic. It's extremely easy to level. The friend who leveled with me with a similar build with the totem version, he actually leveled with Molten Strike until he could go Bladefall. I think he actually stayed. Actually, not sure what he used to level after he dropped the Molten Strike, but he was using Flame Totems, Searing Bond Totems, and then went Bladefall Totems, and still used Searing Bond because it does connect to the two. But I've been I'm almost repeating myself as I run through these maps, because the maps are just kind of pretty easy. But I am only 74, and I'm in a 72 map. This isn't usually the level that you do 72 maps. It looks like we've got a lot of physical damage on this one, so we kind of get to test our physical mitigation, which is pretty good. We're sitting at 29,000 armor. We hit our granite and we're up to 11k, and then we're constantly cycling through endurance charges and Immortal Call, and the endurance charges give us another high percentage physical mitigation on top of everything. If you did want to use a lightning coil with this build, you definitely could. It's kind of not part of the budget ideal for me. You could also use a Carcass Jack if you weren't so concerned with defenses. That's probably what I would go with on a softcore league. I would just go Carcass Jack, get a whole bunch of AoE going, and that'd be a perfectly valid option. You could also equip a Taste of Hate, like practically any build. I would likely replace my Azirius Flask with the Taste of Hate. Taste of Hate scales are physical damage into cold, which is very nice, and then also gives us the normal defensive properties that that make it worth the exalts that it is. But if you have any questions about the build, or if you'd like to make any comments or try a different version, I'll include a link to the forum thread in the description below, as well as a link to my Twitch channel, where you're always free to ask questions about this or any other build. And if I know anything about it, I'm always glad to answer. And if I don't know anything about it, I'm more than happy to learn. And kind of to wrap up the stream, the build guide, I'm just gonna throw chance orbs on a whole bunch of sorcerer's boots and see if I can record a Sky 4th Christmas New Year's miracle. We're get to the end of this map. I'm not really lightning warping as fast as I could be. One of the dangers I have with this build is actually going too fast. If I just kind of push as fast as I think I can, I'll tend to get distracted and I'll probably end up dead. Because I am playing on the Talisman Hardcore League right now. But I think this build does more than enough damage to be a good clear speed build on a softcore league. I played it in parties as well. And at this point, party play doesn't really slow us down, and we can still do enough damage to carry our own weight with the ores that our party members give us. I'll just put this point into the last frenzy charge, so that's finished with. Got our chance orbs. Go to Talmud. So you're saying there's a chance. Damn, no Sky 4th. In any case, I'm RichJMoney again. Thanks for watching. And this is a budget Chaos Bladefall build with dual Ming's Hearts and dual Apep's Rage, which I don't think's ever been done that way before. Thanks for watching.